Once again, good morning.
Good morning.
The gospel reading this morning talks about when Jesus went to the synagogue to preach, and there was these critics of him, the Pharisees, who want to trap him and to find reason to accuse him. And Jesus knew what is inside their hearts. Nasayod na siyang daan unsaan na sa iyang kasing-kasing. And ingon si Jesus nga, is it lawful to do good on the Sabbath rather than to do evil? Ingon siya, to save life, okay na ba? To save life during Sabbath rather than to destroy it? Then he called the man who had a withered hand. Withered hand, kaning ni kuyos ba? Ang kamot, nga tuong kamot, kuyos. Withered. Ingon siya, stretch out your hand. Then his hand was restored. O suko kaayo ang mga Pharisees. Tungod kay wa sila nahimo kang Jesus. There's one thing that I observe Jesus throughout his ministry. Natay usa ka ubutan nga obserbahan sa ministry kan Jesus. One thing, that all sick people were healed, even his enemies. Although may enemies si Jesus. But have you remembered during the time of his arrest, when a Roman soldier was arresting him, Peter drew a sword and strike the man who arrested him. Ug naputol ang iyang ear, the right ear naputol. And Jesus said, put down your sword, Peter. Those who live by the sword will die from the sword. And what he did, ang katong tao nga in our own eyes mahulog nga kontra, iyang gipudyot ang dalunggan o iyang giuli ang naputol nga dalunggan. During his time, no single sick people nga wala na ulian. Tanan gyud na ayo as long nga naa si Jesus. O wa pa namatay. Lazarus was died because Jesus was not around. Martha said, Lord, if you were here, my brother will not die. Diba? Ang kaning mga Pharisees, matawag din sila nga mga expert sa law of Moses, especially the Torah and their tradition. In fact, sa time ni Jesus, there was this Josephus Caiaphas. Na usa ka tawo nga Caiaphas, who is the chief high priest. Okay? Kung ang atong court of law karon namantay three branches atong government, the judicial, the executive, and the justice and judiciary. Ang kaning Pharisees is the Supreme Court. Kung maglibog ka about the interpretation of the law, even in our society today, na yung mga senators, mga legislators, maghimo silang balaod, example na lang about corruption or about life sentence. Dili ang executive power ang mag-interpret sa law. Dili po ang legislative, although they can impose the law, but the ultimate authority who will interpret the law must be the justice system, the Supreme Court. During their time, it was the Pharisees who sits in the court of justice or the Supreme Court. They will interpret the law, especially the law of Moses. But Jesus said, I came not to abolish the law, but rather to give a right interpretation. So, ang mga Pharisees, sila ang mag-interpret sa law. Especially, the law of Moses. Pero si Jesus, kung basahin mo ang Mark chapter 2, verse 23, Jesus is the Lord of the Sabbath. Kini magud nga certain scenario diri, kung tan-aw nimo sa law of man and the eyes of man, si Jesus naka-violate siya sa law of Sabbath. Yet Jesus is the Lord of the Sabbath who violated the law. Unsaon mo na pag-reconcile na to? Nga when the Torah, the fourth commandment of Moses, 10 commandments man, di ba? The fourth commandment that speaks about, remember the Sabbath day, that keep it holy, mumagiingon sa law of Moses. Jesus Christ was there. Jesus Christ was there when Moses wrote the law, the fourth commandment on the stone of tablet in Mount Sinai. When God the Father instructed Moses to write this down, Jesus was there. Because the Bible says He is the Alpha and the Omega. Tama ba? He is the first and the last, the beginning and the end. He was there. Because Christ is God. He is omnipresent and He is all-knowing and He is all-powerful. And again, Jesus said, I came not to abolish the law of Moses. Nag-andi ko diri sa kalibutan, dili para supakon ako ang balaod, but to give a right interpretation of the law. Let us all remember, mga igsoon, nga ang balaod ba niini ang kalibutan, balaod sa itong pamilya, balaod sa simbahan, balaod sa Pilipinas, o ang universal law, the law was made for men. Man was not made by God for the law, but God made man not for the law, but for God for Himself. Wala man tagibuhat sa Dios para sa balaod. Gibuhat ang balaod para sa tao. Apan ang tao gibuhat dili para sa balaod. Tama ba? Gibuhat ang tao para sa Dios. Okay? If you are too legalistic, you might miss something. Kung ang tao bitaw, kaning sige nagtanaw sa balaod sa'yo, pagdili ako sa katao, nag-iusa ka importante nga buta nga imong miss out. Kabalo ka? There's one law that they neglected. Okay man gitunta ang mga Pharisees o mga Sadducees, ang mga rabbi during their time, ang Jewish authority, okay gitunta. Pero one thing that they miss out and they neglected, the law of love. Kaya na-focus mo sila sa unsaon paghugas sa plato, unsaon pagsalida sa Domingo, unsay ipanulti, kanang mga detalye ba? Pero the reason behind the law, they missed it. And what is it? The law of love. That's why, kung ang deacon, during Sunday, human nato pag pangayo og sala, before ta mangayo og sala og kapasayloan sa Ginoo. Unsay buhaton sa deacon during Sunday? The deacon will recite the summary of the law of love. Di ba? Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy mind, with all thy strength, and thou shalt love thy neighbors as thyself. Then, when we realize that we were not able to comply these laws, we bend down our knees and ask God's forgiveness. Di ba mga itag palihog bang luhod? Di ba man sa dikot pagsulti? Master ko na kaya ako pa nag-part. Di ba? Higuma ang Diyos, higumay mong isig katao. Then we realize the Lord, wala mi nakatuman sa iyong balaod. Mangluhod ayon ta. O mga itag kapasayloan, and the bishop will give you the absolution. To give you an assurance that God has forgiven your sins. Then once the deacon would say, please stand, then that's the time you can celebrate the Gloria in excelsis. Di ba, makapasalamat ka na sa Ginoo, makalukso ka na, makasimba ka na, makadaig. Why? Because the bishop or the priest or the celebrant has given you an assurance that your sins are forgiven. Di ba nindot? Pirting nindot ta. Teach them without these two laws in your heart, you are hypocrite. Kung magtudlo ta man lang galing, kung magkurihir ka sa imong isig katao, if you teach, if you impose, if you correct somebody without that basic law of love, you are a hypocrite. Importante gyud ba igsoon nga mahigugma sa tadaan, aya ta magkurihir. Kaya kung sige ka lang panudlo, sige ka lang pangasaba, apan wa ka na higugma, hipokrito ka. You are a hypocrite. Teach them the law, but love them first. people will follow gladly and happily. Because really, people can sense love. Makasense gid ang tao kanina higugma gid sa ako. Mauli siya ditudlo siya sa ako. Pero nasa yung mga tao gatudlo-tudlo lang walay gugma. Naakahip na sila musulod pero wala ka magyamid na. What Christ did. So kita po mismo, we're leaders of our own home. Kita, we are leaders. Kita karon na diri. We are leaders of our own family. And we are leaders of this big family, the church. Be sure to love first before imposing rules, laws we have. At yung siguro na igsuon ang reflection this morning is kita dili man ta mga pare tanan. Apan leader man kasi imong panimalay. Leader man kasi imong anak or kung ikaw anak karon mahimo kang leader ug madamlag. Siguraduon gid nato nga nahigugma gitag una. Aya ta mo impusar sa balaod. Please stand.